Now, as we get ready to treat animals, of course, a big piece of that is going to be us selecting what needles are going to be appropriate for what we're administering. Any just initial tip-off points that we can start to think through when it comes to needle selection?
Yeah, so the main thing with a needle is what you're going to be pushing through it, how thick that material is, and which route you're giving. Generally, if you're giving certain antibiotics, they tend to be thicker. It's cold outside right now. The antibiotic gets cold in the time it sits out here, and they get even thicker with that. So usually we have to use a bigger bore needle or a smaller gauge needle. Typically, I stick with the 16 gauge needle. That's the main size needle that I use. You can use that for antibiotics and vaccines as well. Anything that we're giving under the skin, we try to use a short needle with that, whether it be a 5/8 inch needle or a 1/2 inch needle. Those are the ideal lengths to give anything under the skin. And then if we're going in the muscle with a vaccine or an antibiotic, we try to use either a 1 inch needle or an 1.5 inch needle. Be careful and make sure you're giving it in the correct spot if you are using an 1.5 inch needle, because you can go too deep and you'll actually feel the needle hit bone and that we've gone too far.
Gotcha.
As far as the type of needle I use a needle with an aluminum hub, because a lot of times, especially when we're vaccinating animals, we're giving multiple injections. Typically, you can get around 10 animals vaccinated with one needle. When your needle gets dull, you definitely want to change it. If it bends, you want to change it at that point. There are also needles that have polypropylene hubs. Typically, I use those if I'm giving a single injection and that's the only thing I'm going to use that needle for. These needles that we have here that we are using, they actually have an aluminum hub. You can see that it's aluminum all the way down. Very rarely does the needle portion break off from the hub. And then these have the polypropylene hub, but they also have an aluminum adapter in here, which makes them much stronger than if they were just glued in there.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time to answer our questions and help
Sure.
us better understand how we can make the right decision for ourselves when it comes to needles and syringes when we're working our cattle and keeping them healthy.
Good, happy to help you.